Is the gibberish we hear in churches today biblical tongues?
Yeah, what do you call it gibberish? Because you don't understand the language? If I went from speaking Hebrew to quoting in Aramaic to quoting in Babylonian to speaking in tongues, you might not know the difference between one language and another. I have many times been overseas, and as I'm preaching and someone's translating, I'm thinking, that can't be a language. That's not a lot. Sounds like gibberish to me. What does Paul say in 1 Corinthians 14? And the King James is interesting that if there's no interpretation, someone hears tongues, they'll think you're a barbarian. What does barbarian mean? Well, it's not the right way to translate it today, but barbarian is from Greek bar. In other words, their language sounds like gibberish to you. So Paul's telling you, if it's a language you don't understand, it could just sound like gibberish to you. So that's what I'm curious about. Why would someone brand it gibberish? Simply because they don't understand the language. And that's Paul's thing, which is why you need interpretation. But Paul's emphatic in 1 Corinthians 14, you're speaking to God and no one understands you. So yes, there are instances, happened firsthand with some friends of mine, different friends, one of whom is a cessationist, by the way, that an interpreter spoke a language he had never spoken to reach a tribal people. This happened with a cessationist friend of mine. And afterwards, the interpreter said, I never spoke that dialect. And they had, perfect witnessing opportunity, et cetera. And then when he was talking to the head of the ministry there, he said, oh yeah, that happens with us once a month because of all these unreached people. And a colleague of mine in Italy years ago was able to speak fluently in Italian to a woman he was ministering to who was demonized. So, I mean, those things happen, but the primary New Testament tongues is speaking a language that no one understands, speaking mysteries in your spirit to God and edifying yourself. And Paul said, I thank God I speak in tongues more than all of you. But to call it gibberish is making a judgment, simply say, I don't understand that language. And that was Paul's issue, which is why you need an interpreter if you deliver messages in public in tongues.
Do you think that there may be an issue in the charismatic churches today, that there may be people misusing the gift, or they don't actually have the gift and they're just pretending or something like that?
Yeah, sure. There's always counterfeit. There's counterfeit everything. You know what I'm saying? The Antichrist comes with counterfeit signs, wonders, and miracles, which means there are real signs, wonders, and miracles because he brings a counterfeit. There's no such thing as a counterfeit $3 bill. So Satan counterfeits the real. But look, I mean, why should this surprise us? Could you imagine the children of Israel? Moses comes into the Egypt and starts working miracles, and Pharaoh's magicians counterfeit them, a number of them. So the children of Israel say to Moses, "Well, quit with these miracles because there are these counterfeits too." No, you don't throw out the real because of the counterfeit. So how do you test it? Like everything else? Are there counterfeit salvations? Are there Reformed churches? People think they're born again. They're really not. Sure, it's counterfeit everything. There are people who are deceived. So you test things by the word. You test them by the quality of life that's lived.